In this week's drive, we see where BMW's view of the future is taking us, but none of these guys have their way. Watch the good old boys do what comes naturally, and catch up with another English champion. All this and more in this week's Drive. The Monaco Grand Prix is called the jewel in the Formula One crown, and for a second year in a row there were real diamonds on the grid. Ahead of the race, McLaren drivers Kimi Raikkonen, the eventual winner, and Juan Pablo Montoya were given personalised helmets encrusted with dozens of diamonds. Actress Natasha Vermeer handed over the helmets, which will be auctioned for charity.
I think it's great, you know, the idea of just putting, you know, my name in diamonds, and it was really cool when they told me what they want to do and the reason for it. You know, I think, you know, Monaco being probably a jewel of Formula One in races and having, you know, diamonds on my helmet. You know, I'm not a diamond guy. You know, my wife is really into diamonds. I'm not. But, you know, the idea of it from Monaco, I think, was great. You know, it's wild. It's, you know, it's just everything. Where we're doing it is just really exciting.
It took 3 months to create the two helmets with the drivers' names spelt out with brilliant cut diamonds. Each year, Raikkonen has a unique helmet just for Monte Carlo. This year, the Finn's helmet bears an Iceman logo, and he lived up to his nickname this year, winning the race from pole position. Title leader Alonso ripped up his tyres, handing second and third to Williams drivers Heidfeld and Webber. Last year, the Jaguar team took part in a similar promotion in Monaco, with a $257,000 diamond set into each of their car's nose cones. Christian Klein crashed on the first lap of the race, and the expensive diamond mysteriously disappeared and was never seen again. NASCAR moved to the short track in Richmond, Virginia, where teams run specially built short track cars. The race got off to a clean start. Richmond is one of only 3 short tracks on the schedule, but its high grip and resulting high speeds give the 3/4-mile oval the feel of a superspeedway. On lap 81, Dave Blaney and Sterling Marlin touched. Michael Waltrip and Jimmy Johnson lifted off, and Johnson was tapped by Travis Kvapil. Johnson hit the inside wall and couldn't steer the car back into the pits. Then on lap 165, Bobby Labonte spun Rusty Wallace, who managed to keep his car off the wall, pointed in the right direction, and was able to stay in the race. Another driver was able to recover from a near disastrous spin, although Jeff Gordon slapped the wall and sustained damage. On lap 233, race leader Tony Stewart got spun around, but he also kept his car on the track and pointed down the straight, although he lost the lead. Stewart would finish second, having led for 143 laps. There were just 12 laps remaining when Rusty Wallace, Dale Jarrett and Robbie Gordon tangled. Kurt Busch stopped for right-side tyres, and a lap later he stopped for lefts too. And after leading for 242 laps, a career high for him, Kasey Kahne was first to the checkered flag and claimed victory, winning by 1.6 seconds in just his 47th NASCAR race start. His pit crew was so excited they ran out onto the track to congratulate him. In his brief career, Kahne has already started on pole 6 times and finished second 6 times. Now he's beaten the hard men of NASCAR, some of whom are old enough to be his father. Six years ago, she was a model in Japan financing her skiing career, and then she was invited to pose at a racetrack. Despite being unable to drive, she was hooked on the noise and power of the cars and wanted more. After 6 years racing in France and Asia, 31-year-old Keiko Ihara is competing in the British Formula 3 Championship, the training ground for Formula One drivers.
I started when I was 26, which is rather a late start. As most drivers start driving a racing car around when they are 5 or 6, I felt I had a lot of catching up to do. For this reason, I came to England, as it is considered the home of motorsports.
It took 4 years to save enough money, and her first race was in the Ferrari Challenge in 1999.
I was doing competitive skiing at university, and because I started running out of funds, I started modelling. It was through my modelling that I first set foot on a raced circuit. I was moved by the fabulous speed and sounds of motorsport, and that's when I felt that I wanted to start motorsports.
At Sepang in Malaysia, Keiko finished second to New Zealand's Fabian Coulthard, a cousin of Red Bull Formula One driver David Coulthard.
I only think about the total control of my car and, of course, tuning the settings. I have to learn many things and communicate with many people to get the car to handle right, and I think of the car as an extension of my arms and legs. As motorsports is very much still a man's world, it is difficult mentally. Motorsport is also a sport based on sponsorship, and it's not easy to get sponsorship, as people believe you will not be successful because you are a woman. It's also very tough physically. The G-forces are all over your body. The neck is an especially vulnerable area, and so I train by lying on my side, put large weights on my head, and then lift them to build my neck muscles up. F3 in England is a category very close to F1, and therefore attracts the most competitive drivers from all over the world. I've jumped into that and am struggling to get better, so if you happen to see me at all, please support me.
Keiko has had an unusual path towards stardom. There have been several women drivers in Formula One, but their success has been limited. Only Italian Leila Lombardi and South African Desiree Wilson scored points in the 1970s. Between 1978 and 81, 455 BMW M1s were built by BMW Motorsport. 56 were designated as racing cars. The Giugiaro-designed M1 with its mid-engine six-cylinder engine was to be assembled by Lamborghini, but Lamborghini's poor financial situation and assembly delays saw the job move to Bauer, the German convertible builders. In 1983, the 633 CSI became the M6 when the M1's engine was modified to fit into a strengthened 633 chassis mounted at an unusual 30-degree angle. The motorsport division fitted a close-ratio gearbox, improved suspension and uprated brakes. Only 5,855 were made from 1983 to 89. Now the M6 badge has reappeared on a motorsport-modified version of the 6 Series Coupe launched last year. But unlike competitors, which usually have only 2 seats, the M6 is a traditional 2+2. The new M6 shares its drivetrain with the recently introduced M5, whose all-new V10 produces 507 horsepower. And this engine is mated to a 7-speed transmission. In the interests of improved responsiveness, the M6 takes the lightweight technology of the 645 Ci to an even higher level. The first car to feature a roof made of carbon fibre was the M3 CSL, a special model built in small, strictly limited series. Now BMW is introducing a carbon fibre roof on the M6, lifting lightweight technology to a new dimension in series production. This feature alone saves nearly 5 kilograms and contributes to the car's overall weight of 1,710 kilograms. Offering the same stability and crash safety as a steel roof, this carbon fibre material is much lighter than aluminium, let alone steel. The result is a significant reduction in weight and mass, lowering the car's centre of gravity, boosting performance and improving body stiffness. Like other 6 Series models, the new BMW M6 uses a hybrid construction of aluminium, thermoplastics and sheet moulding compound, or SMC. This mixture of materials delivers an extremely rigid yet light body structure, The front wings are made of thermoplastics, the doors and bonnet of aluminium, and the boot lid SMC. In an era of computer-controlled mass production and increasingly robotic assembly, it's refreshing to see so many humans involved in putting together the new cars. While this inevitably makes them more expensive, in reality the production volumes of M cars are quite low and spread across several models, including the M3 and M5, so the infrastructure of a dedicated robotic assembly line can't really be justified. BMW claim it's difficult to find any genuine competitors to the M6, since all the other more or less comparable cars are either all-out super sports cars or are sporting sedans far inferior in terms of agility. So, given that the car's power-to-weight ratio is even better than on the M5, as well as its unique handling, and this with the everyday driving qualities of a large coupe, the engineers at BMW M claim that the new M6 is in a class of its own.
As with every M car, the engineers at BMW M have focused in particular on an optimum setup of the chassis and suspension, special brakes, tires and wheels, in order to get all the enormous power of the BMW M6 safely onto the road.
The M6 shares its supreme power unit with the M5. Ever since being introduced in the M5, this engine has been acknowledged as the absolute benchmark, just as the M5 is the epitome of the sports saloon.
Carbon is an extremely light, but at the same time very stiff material. Obviously, precisely qualities of this kind are ideal for optimizing the roof of a car. That is the highest point of the body. Saving weight there really makes sense, because the lower the car's center of gravity, the more agile and dynamic it is on the road, especially a sports car.
Reducing weight to a sensible minimum, the M6 comes with all the driving dynamics required for the racetrack, while in terms of motoring comfort and equipment, it's ideal for roads all over the world. The M6 body shape is modified only a little from the coupe and comes with all the visual understatement of previous M models. In most cases, the casual observer would be hard-pressed to pick out an M car unless a standard version was parked nearby.
The 6 Series is a wonderful coupe. We made an M out of it. We opened the front for the big engine. We optimized the downforce in front and in rear. We opened the wheels for the big brakes, and that's how we made an M out of it.
Like its predecessor, the new M6 resets the sports GT benchmark with supercar performance, dispatching the 0 to 100 km/h sprint in 4.6 seconds and achieving a limited top speed of 250 km/h. If de-restricted, the M6 will be capable of a 320-plus terminal velocity. During tests at the Nürburgring Nordschleife circuit, the new M6 regularly clocked 8-minute lap times, a Grand Prix winning pace of just a few years ago. The 5-litre engine ensures that the new M6 maintains the M-car tradition of breaking the 100 brake horsepower per litre benchmark. The 90-degree V10 aluminium silicon alloy engine block is extremely light yet robust and weighs just 240 kilograms. The chassis of the new M6 permits lateral acceleration in excess of 1 G. To cope with such forces, the V10 engine has a special oil system that, from 0.6 G of sideways load, activates one of 2 electronic oil pumps to draw oil from the cylinder head and deliver it back to the sump to ensure perfect lubrication even in the most extreme situations. Masterminding the engine is one of the most advanced engine control systems ever developed. The control unit can handle more than 200 million operations per second from over 50 incoming signals. Each of the 10 cylinders has its own throttle butterfly, with its position being monitored 200 times per second. The butterflies can move from closed to fully open in 120 milliseconds, about 3 times faster than the blink of an eye.
The cockpit of the M6 has not been changed in its fundamental features, because the interior of the 6 Series is already very appealing as it is. Only functional details, such as the M steering wheel, the SMG pedals on the steering wheel, the new selector lever in the middle, the M controls and instruments, as well as the M seats have been modified. This gives the purchaser of an M6 an attractive combination of M performance plus superior comfort on the road.
Like the M5, the new M6 uses BMW's new 3rd generation 7-speed sequential manual gearbox, offering 11 different change patterns depending on the speed of change required. 6 change patterns are available in the manual mode and 5 in the automatic mode, in which the gearbox will select the most appropriate gear depending on driving conditions. The M6 also comes with a power button in the center console. Initially, the car pre-selects the P400 setting, delivering only 400 brake horsepower for town or city driving. Engaging the power button modifies the response of the throttle and enables the P500 setting to deliver the full 507 horsepower generated by the engine. Control of all these features is via the M6 M-Drive Manager. M-Drive allows the driver to pre-select specific settings for the power button, the gearbox, DSC, EDC and head-up display. More extreme settings can be pre-programmed for track use. The new SMG gearbox also offers safety benefits when downshifting on slippery surfaces. If it detects the rear wheels locking up, the clutch opens for a fraction of a second to ensure traction is maintained. Hill detection is another feature. In automatic mode, the gearbox recognizes that the car is traveling on an incline and holds gears uphill to maintain acceleration, and selects lower gears when going downhill to make the most of the available engine braking. There's a world of difference between old and new as the M6 rushes into the 21st century. For example, the latest M6 has a new version of the head-up display which projects driver-focused information, such as engine speed, gear selected and road speed, into the driver's view, avoiding the need to look away from the road ahead. The new car goes on sale later this year. All you need is €106,000. The Hydrogen 3 fuel cell vehicle contested the Rally Monte Carlo fuel cell and hybrid to pass another endurance test. Overall, the hydrogen-powered Opel Zafira was third behind 2 hybrid cars. Ex-Formula 1 and DTM driver Heinz-Harald Frentzen was the Zafira's celebrity pilot.
It is already special to sit in a hydrogen car. I think that's the future of automobile.
A total of 13 vehicles, 5 of which were powered by fuel cells, started the rally. The fuel cell Zafira left the grid in Lugano, Switzerland and reached the finish line in Monte Carlo after covering 417 kilometers on the same day within the target time. The demanding route had 3 legs and passed through Switzerland, Italy and France before ending in the Principality. Average speed was around 80 kilometers an hour, which is quite impressive considering all the mountain passes and cities through which the route passed.
We think that hydrogen is the fuel of the future because we have a lot of potential ways to produce that renewable, which is very good for our environment. On the other side, hydrogen offers the most efficient way of converting that to driving fun with a fuel cell.
The 5-seat Hydrogen 3 is powered by a 60 kilowatt 3-phase asynchronous motor. The required electrical energy is produced by a fuel cell stack consisting of a total of 200 individual cells connected in series. With its almost noiseless propulsion system, this front-wheel drive vehicle accelerates from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in around 16 seconds and reaches a top speed of about 160 kilometers an hour. The vehicle was refueled with minus 253 degrees Celsius liquid hydrogen using a mobile filling station at 159 kilometers near Turin and at 320 kilometers just before the 1,850-meter-high Col de Tende mountain pass. The tiny Principality of Monaco has been in the news lately with the passing of Prince Rainier, one of the world's longest reigning monarchs, and the ascension of his son Prince Albert. Some fuel cell prototypes are facing the same test routine as regular GM models are put through. Covering 165,000 validation kilometers, the 20 fuel cell prototypes face 132 test schedules all over the world and under all climatic conditions. But one of the first hydrogen vehicles was literally out of this world. The Hydrogen 3 has already proven its endurance on many occasions, most recently in the Opel Fuel Cell Marathon. In 38 days, the hydrogen-powered prototype travelled 9,696 kilometres between Hammerfest in Norway and Cabo de Roca in Portugal, a new world record for a fuel cell vehicle. Leaving Norway, it passed through Brussels, London, Paris, and on to Monaco, and eventually to Cabo de Roca. Fuel cell vehicles have the potential for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and eventually eliminating them. The 1955 Mille Miglia is universally considered to be one of the greatest races of all time. At 7:22 a.m. on the 1st of May 1955, Britain's Sterling Moss and Dennis Jenkinson roared away from the starting line in Brescia in their number 722 Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR sports car. 10 hours, 7 minutes and 48 seconds later, they crossed the finishing line, having covered the 1,000-mile route at an average speed of nearly 100 miles an hour, a figure unmatched since.
Well, the fascination, I think, of the Mille Miglia is that it went all around Italy over roads people didn't know, and people saw cars like this passing their own house, their own village. And I think there's so much of the Italian people are so passionate for speed, and to be able to take part in an event of that size with 700 or 800 cars and over 1,000 drivers made it very special.
It's not a race what we do. It's a it's a time trial, really, the whole Mille Miglia. So if you go fast, you never win. But that's not why we do it, We do it because I do it with this car. Of course, I drive it quicker at certain sections where I can do it. But it's basically just a step back in time, and it's sort of a nostalgic thing, which is a bit overdrawn and overemphasized because of the distortion of time. But yet it isn't.
50 years later, Moss, regarded by many as the best driver never to be world champion, drove his famous 722 again, half a century after his legendary victory. Dennis Jenkinson died 5 years ago, so Moss teamed up with veteran German driver Jochen Mass. The last Mille Miglia in its original form as a long-distance race was held in 1957. The race was revived in 1977 as a regularity trial rather than a proper race. At the end of this year's event, Moss's car will be placed in the Stuttgart Museum and leave the road for good. The stunts can be seen in Hollywood movies, but away from the glitz and the glamour, there's a group of people who take great pleasure in proving their worth as car rollers. Tony Green won the British Championship in 2004.
Need a lot of bottle, and you just need to put your foot down hard. There's no real secret. You hit the ramp. Once you've left the ramp, it's pretty much the car goes where it goes. After that, you've got no control on it. It's just picking the right car, bit of power, and looking nice.
The ramp itself is small and not an easy target to hit, particularly when accelerating out of a bend. In fact, missing the ramp is the greatest fear of the drivers. Such an error brings great ridicule from other drivers and the crowd. The actual roll is judged on distance, elevation and style, and crowd applause and reaction. Despite his experience and winning habit, Green didn't live up to expectations. Unfortunately for the defending champion, he landed back on his wheels and didn't achieve the rolling distance he was looking for. And yes, that's a rare Lancia Monte Carlo he's trying to destroy. Second place went to Fred Kinsels, who scored 156 points for his spectacular effort in his green and yellow Golf Monster. Kinsels looked a good bet for victory, but Chris Woods delivered an even more spectacular effort. Woods sent his car rolling nearly 3/4 of the way down the track, much to the delight of the crowd, who helped raise his score to 206 points, enough for a comfortable victory over Kinsels and Carl Bignell, who was third with 88 points. But what's the key to the sustained interest in this event?
For the drivers, I really couldn't say. I think the bravado of it and to do something completely different. But for the crowd, as you've seen yourself, it's just the sheer spectacle. You won't see this outside of a Hollywood film.
All in all, another successful British rollover championship. Woods is expected to be back to defend his title in 2006. But for now, though, he's the toast of South London. So whether you're playing with your new toy, living your dream, or reliving a glorious past, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.